Good morning, Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. Today, Joseph of Arimathea is going to secure the body of Jesus and then bury Jesus in a tomb he himself owns. A garden tomb, a cave tomb, which would mean that Joseph was a man of significant means to have a family tomb this within the city walls or this close to the city walls of Jerusalem. Let's read the text. We're in Mark chapter 15. We're going to be reading verses 42 through 47. And when evening had already come, because it was the preparation day, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea came, a prominent member of the council, a man who himself was waiting for the kingdom of God, and he gathered up his courage, and he went before Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. And Pilate wondered if Jesus was dead by this time. And summoning the centurion, he questioned him as to whether he was already dead. And ascertaining from the centurion, he granted the body to Joseph. And Joseph bought a linen sheet, took him down and wrapped him in the linen sheet, and laid him in a tomb, which had been hewn out in the rock, and rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. And Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Joseph were looking on to see where Jesus was laid. A lot of details here. The one is, it's Friday. Now, I've read several papers tortuously trying to prove that Jesus was crucified on Thursday instead of Friday, even though clearly Mark says it's on Friday, because people are trying to get Jesus in the grave 72 hours. Jesus was in the grave Friday evening, all day Saturday and Sunday morning. Was he even in the grave 48 hours? I don't know. But he was in the grave across 3 days, and that's all that matters. Even if you say he was crucified on Thursday, he wasn't in the grave 72 hours because he was crucified. He died at 6 in the evening. It was probably, or 3 in the afternoon. It was probably close to 6 before he got in the grave, and he was raised in the morning. So you're still short several hours. So if this is important to you, take a chill. It says Friday, and it means Friday. Anyway, so Friday. I love the detail in Mark's gospel. Joseph of Arimathea, a prominent member of the council, waiting for the kingdom of God, a believer, a disciple. So not all the council were party to Jesus' condemnation. I love the phrase. I never read this phrase without being moved. Gathered up his courage, and that's a good translation from the Greek. Gathered up his courage. It was hard. I mean, to do this, I don't know that it was so hard to go talk to Pilate, but to expose himself after the death of Jesus to the rest of the Sanhedrin. Hey, I'm a believer in this man, and I'm doing right by this man. You know what he exposed himself to not just to the Sanhedrin, but to the zealots, to the Sicarii, who may want to execute him. It was hard for him to do this, but he had to do it, and he did do it. We know from the other Gospels that Nicodemus was there to pay for the oil that they needed for the burial. He had to do this quickly. He had to go buy the linen, and it's already 3 o'clock, after 3 o'clock. Probably pushing 6, and after 6 o'clock he can't do any of it because it's technically the Sabbath and he can't do any of it, but he does get it done. Let me talk a little bit about the tomb and about what they would have done for Jesus, for any corpse. The tomb would have been a cave, and then there would be chambers, not rooms, but alcoves, niches, dug into it, into which you could put a body, and maybe there would be ledges carved in where you could place a body that had been prepared, and that body would stay there until there was nothing left but bones. And then when there was only bones, you would collect the bones in a bone box or in another chamber that was there just for the bones, and the bones would all be there together, unless you were really, really rich. Like a man like Caiaphas had his own bone box, and his bone box exists. His bones aren't in it, but the bone box itself exists. Anyway, so in other words, you didn't stay there forever because everybody wanted to be buried in Jerusalem. And if a family had a tomb, it wouldn't take long to run out of holes in the wall to put people. So people stayed there only until their soft tissue had decomposed and disappeared, and then they would be put in the ossuary. So that's where Jesus was put. So what happened on this day was that his body would have been washed and then covered in olive oil and then wrapped in linen and placed on the ledger in the alcove. What evidently only got to happen today was that they put the linen wrapping on him and they put him in, and then they sealed the tomb up, which they had to do because of grave robbers and because of animals. And the women saw where he was buried so they could come back, wash his body, and then cover him in olive oil with spices that would help the decomposition not smell so bad on the outside, but it was also an act of love and care and concern and respect to the corpse. So that's what they're going to be planning to do on Sunday morning once the Sabbath is over. And that's where we will pick up next time in chapter 16. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes.